Hello, everyone, and welcome to PrettyRealPersona. I am your host. Happy Wednesday. Today, our podcast episode is about how our childhood shapes our relationships. If your partner triggers you, congratulations, that's your inner child calling. We like to think our relationships are compatibility, communication, and timing, but a lot of the time they're about what we learned or didn't learn about love. Way before we could spell the word. Today, we're unpacking how childhood shapes our adult relationships without blame, shame, or even spiraling. So, first, I want to talk about, why childhood always shows up in our adult love. You're not dramatic. You're just 8 years old emotionally in certain moments. Our childhood was our first classroom for love. Being a child is the first time, like, our parents showed us how to love, or what love really wasn't. Like, our idea of love is shaped from our childhood, from our parents, from how we grew up, whoever raised us. How early experiences, like our early experiences formed our emotional expectations, like in love. Our role of attachment patterns, whether we're anxiously attached, avoidant, and those all mean we all get those from certain things. Me personally, I am an anxious attached, which I've been, it's probably about like 2 or 3 years ago, I was working on being like transforming from an anxious attached person to more of a secure attached person. And that has really changed my life. I really think that plays a huge role in why I was able to find, my girlfriend now. Like adult reactions are often childhood responses. Because it's like sometimes some situations can take us back to the moment when we were kids and experienced a similar situation, and that's why it triggers us. Because triggers are emotional memories. So it's like you have to understand your triggers. Your nervous system remembers things your conscious mind forgot. And what we learned about love growing up, some of us learned love was loud, some learned it was silent, some learned it was conditional. Love is modeled through consistency or inconsistency, affection or emotional distance. And that, and how conflict was handled in your home, whether emotions were welcomed or dismissed, what love required you to do to receive it, how those lessons show up in dating and partnerships. We don't look for what's healthy, we look for what's familiar. So if you think back to your childhood and you think about, how was your parents' love, or the love that you received growing up? Was it consistent? Was it inconsistent? Was your parents affectionate, or were they like more emotionally distant, but like physically there? Like, how was conflict handled in your home? Were your emotions welcomed or dismissed? Like, all of those things. And now I want to talk about like how childhood wounds show up in your relationships. Your abandonment issues did not come from nowhere. And abandonment issues it doesn't even always have to be like, oh, my mom left me, or, you were in foster care. Like, it could just be simple times where you remember where, you were left at an aunt or uncle's house and you didn't want to go there and you felt super uncomfortable, or there's things that happened there, and, you felt abandoned. It could be as simple as that, or just being you. Like me, I have a story, I think. One time we had went on a family trip, and I had got into the elevator. Like, when your mom has multiple kids and stuff, it's like hard tracking everyone down. But it's like, I remember going into the elevator, and I was in the elevator by myself. So when I got off on the next floor, I got into the elevator before everybody because I thought we were all ready. And then when I got to the next floor, nobody was there, and I felt super scared because I didn't know where I was at or where I was going. And then I got back in the elevator to go back, and I was just going up and down the elevator. It was so scary, but it's like, things of that. But it's like these patterns and like your abandonment issues and things like that can show up. It's like a fear of abandonment, of losing people in your life, whether it's relationships, friends. It can show up as you people pleasing, avoidance, or like emotionally shutting down in conversations, avoiding conflict, avoiding conversations, overacting to perceived rejection. Like, you can't take rejection, and it's like you will be rejected. That's one thing that you will hear no's in life, but you have to still be able to get up and either continue to do something that's a yes, till you get your yes, and things like that. Like, it can show up as difficulty trusting safety and stability, so you gravitate towards inconsistency, toxicity, instead of trusting safety and stability. Same thing, confusing intensity with intimacy. So you think that all that toxic stuff is love, or you think, that's intimacy, that's how someone should love you. If they don't do that, then they don't love you. And then it's like you're passing on the love of your life because you're not healed yourself. And it's like unhealed wounds, they don't ask for permission, they activate automatically. And I want to get into like reenactments versus healing in relationships. So it's like, are you healing, or are you just replaying season 1 again? Like, after a relationship where you're subconsciously, like, you could not be healing from every situation, all this toxic stuff. This could just be the way that you love, your default of loving. And you could be subconsciously pulled towards familiar dynamics where it's like, you wonder why am I always attracting this? It's just because this is, your default of love, how you feel loved. You feel regulated in this space of toxicity. And then it's like you're recreating your childhood roles in adult relationships. And it's like you need to outgrow those childhood roles, or really reflect and reevaluate, like, was this the way that I was loved? Is this a healthy way of love? Like, and then it's like, you need to become aware and choose new responses instead of the old script, so you can change, so you can really have love. You wonder why, it's 10 years, you keep attracting the same people, or you keep going through the same toxic cycles. And then it's like, but you never stop to look deeper and go to the root of the problem of, like, how did I perceive love as a kid? How should I, change that? And then, learn to pause before reacting. That's really a start. Because healing begins when the pattern becomes conscious, and you keep working at it to change it. And then when you change it and making that your default instead, replacing that toxic way with, a healthy way. So I want to do a new segment, and it's called the Inner Child Check-In. So let's see what age you were emotionally time traveled to this week. So get in your journal bag, get them journals out. Listen, I'm gonna wait for y'all, give y'all a second. Get y'all journals out, and write these questions down, because this is what we're gonna journal. And I want you guys to leave a comment on what your answers are, or you can message me. But what situations make me feel small or unseen? Write that one down. Keep writing these down. When do I feel the urge to over-explain or withdraw? Write that one down. Even if you need to pause and scroll back, keep writing these down. What reassurance am I secretly seeking? What did I need as a child that I'm still asking for? So it's like, you don't need to become someone new. You need to tend to someone younger. You need to really become one with their inner child and really help them heal, because now you're an adult. You're not that child anymore that was, oppressed in some ways. You're an adult that is very much capable of changing their life around. and becoming a healthier version of yourself. And it's like, once you know better, you have to love differently. Like, awareness is cute, but what are you actually doing with it? Like, name your patterns without shaming yourself. You know, this was something that you learned as a kid. This was, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And at a certain time, if you are an adult, it's not your parents' fault anymore, because you have the power to fix it, to change it, to love yourself differently. And that's, like, it always starts with loving yourself in the ways you need to be loved first. So then you can, radiate and reflect that love. Communicate your triggers instead of acting on them, because one thing, triggers are nobody else's, responsibilities but your own, because you have to see when something could be you have to, know yourself, get to know your triggers and work through them. And it can't be someone else's fault why you're getting triggered by something, because especially if this isn't like if that's not what they're actually doing, triggers, if it triggers you, it's something that you're passionate about. So you should really get to the bottom of it and see, like, why it's triggering you, and, go deep. Like, what in your childhood, what age are you at this time that this is triggering you? And what is a similar experience you experienced that makes this trigger you? And work through that and reframe it for yourself so that you can, work on not getting triggered, especially if it's like this isn't a toxic situation happening, but you're triggered because of something that's happened. You have to realize, like, the person who's triggering you is not the person who triggered you when you were a kid or something. You have to reparent yourself emotionally. Like, that's a big one, and it's hard. All of these things are harder said, than done. But it's like, it's all worth it to be, the best version of yourself. Choose regulation over reaction. Like, it can be very hard to emotionally regulate yourself. Like, when you're feeling something, deep breaths work. Like, and then journaling works. Sometimes you have to write it out and, like, really, like, dissect it. Letting relationships be places of growth, not rescue. Like, no one can save you from the things that you went through as a kid. No one can, be everything to you. You have to be everything to you. And a relationship is really just a shared healthy space of, like, community, love, and growth, constant growth. Like, healthy love feels calm. It's not confusing. And it's like, understanding your childhood doesn't mean blaming your past. It means freeing your future. The more you understand where your patterns come from, the more choice you have in it and how you love now. So if this episode resonated, share it with someone who's on a healing journey. Journal on one pattern you noticed in yourself while listening. Like, follow and subscribe to Pretty Real Persona for real conversations about healing, love, and self-awareness. And remember, your past explains you, and it doesn't define you. So if you like today's episode, subscribe to us. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for tuning in and listening to Pretty Real Persona. I am your host, Ariana. Bye.